what makes chronic pain chronic? And why is it so hard to treat chronic pain? So, any pain that you have that you've been trying to address that lasts longer than 3 months or 6 months, depending on where you do your research. But typically, chronic pain is pain that lasts longer than 3 to 6 months. So the tendency of people when they start having pain is that they tend to almost ignore it, right? Because it's still not a big deal. You can still keep doing what you want to do in life every day. And so you think, this is not a big deal. It just happens off and on. And, I think that it's just going to go away. So that's the biggest problem of people, is that we all tend to ignore our pain when it first starts. So then we hope that it goes away, but it doesn't go away. But in the meantime, while we're dealing with that pain, we actually start compensating and having what we call pain behaviors. So our body is very smart. It doesn't want to hurt itself, right? It doesn't want to go through the pain. So it automatically does something to compensate so that it doesn't have to deal with the pain. Now, these compensations will eventually become its own problem, right? Because it creates a dysfunctional movement pattern. So that is typically a muscular problem. So when people have chronic pain, not only do they have pain from their original problem, in other words, the original problem, meaning, whatever the MRI shows or whatever the X-ray shows, or maybe you did something that caused the pain. So that's the trigger, the initial trigger. But because you were ignoring it, maybe not intentionally, but you were hoping that it will go away, now you've compensated, and those compensations have become your secondary problem. That's typically what you see in chronic pain. So then the question of, so why is it so hard to treat? That's because people tend to focus on the initial trigger, the initial cause of the pain, and no one really pays attention to what has gone wrong in your body because you have been dealing with pain. If you actually take the time to address that problem, or you find someone like a physical therapist or another healthcare provider who will actually address the problem, you find that you are going to be successful in improving your life. The tendency when people come in for treatment in our practice, they say, I just want to get rid of my pain. I just want pain relief. That's what we hear all the time. And you know what my response is to that? In a joking way, I go, no, you're not really here for pain relief. That's really not what you're here for. And they look at me funny, like, what? What are you talking about? And my response to that is, we all can live in pain. We can ignore it. The only time that we decide it's time to get help is when the pain gets so bad that it takes something away from us that's important to us, right? So let's say you have a shoulder problem. If it's already painful to put away dishes up on the second shelf of your cupboards, that's when you pay attention. If it wakes you up at night, then you pay attention, right? If you have a back problem and you can no longer travel, that's when you pay attention. Or if you can no longer walk your dog in your neighborhood, or you're hesitant to do things with your friends, or you feel like you can no longer play golf without having to pay for it afterwards, that is when you pay attention. Unfortunately, by that time, when the pain gets so bad that it takes something away from you, you have already gone past the 3-month or 6-month period. So that is why when you decide that it's time to ask for help, that's usually when you are struggling to get the relief, because you are now dealing with that secondary problem I mentioned to you previously. So my advice to you when you have a little pain here and there, nip it in the bud. That's really the key. If you address your pain when it's still in the early stage, you will not end up with chronic pain. I call it the onion is still a small onion of problems, right? The layers. Whereas if you put it off, thinking it's going to go away, which it won't, I tell you, it will not go away on its own. It will probably do that once in a while, but it will always come back to haunt you. So again, the key is if you nip it in the bud so that it will not get bigger. Think about what that would mean to you. It would mean a better quality of life in your future. So when you understand the process of why chronic pain affects, people's quality of life, you would do something about it, because it is a scary thought to end up that way and feel that there is no hope or no solution to it. Now, in our world, in manual physical therapy, there is a solution to it. Okay, our patients who have been in pain for 20 years or 40 years, they can get better. Why is that? Because we understand that with chronic pain, it is not the original problem, but the secondary problem that needs to be addressed. So if there's anything that I want you to take away from today, it is the fact that if you start having a little bit of a problem, nip it in the bud, don't wait for it to get worse. And that will help you in the long run.